Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully everything is working. I don't know if it's working or not. We're going to test if it's working. My audio input capture is turned on. Everything seems good. So that's the main thing. That hopefully you guys are going to be able to hear me. I'm going to join Rob shortly, just because it's been a while. Actually, it has been a while since we had all this going, and I always worry that you guys can't hear some of the stuff we're up to. So there might be, if you can't hear sound effects, if you can't hear me talking, if it sounds bad, let me know in the chat and I'll try and tweak things. Usually I have this problem that my microphone isn't working. So, that's usually the thing that goes wrong first of all, is my mic doesn't work, my camera's not working, the chat isn't working, something like that. But hopefully we got it right. Rob's saying it's working. Everything seems good. Everybody's happy. We just got to get into this game. I think that's let's see if we get some sound effects through for the game, and let's go join Rob. Let's see if we can get him. Can we get Rob? Is Rob here? Can Rob hear me?
Hi, what's up, Keith?
Hello, my friend. How are you? You good?
I'm well. Yes, I'm great.
I'm excited because it's been a while since we've done a stream, and we did every faction, and then we decided to change loads of stuff. And then we didn't do the Dominion, and everyone is like, Bane, where's the Dominion?
Yeah, you know what? It was worth the wait. This is the best faction, obviously.
Well, that's your favourite faction, right? It is your favourite faction.
It is my favourite faction, yeah.
Yeah, and sadly we can't have Tom here with us tonight. He's currently playing, I believe, with his clan on Hell Let Loose, so he sends his best, says sorry he can't make it. But we're here, me and Rob, so we're going to try and do what we can. Game could turn it down a bit, apparently. But game's a bit loud. I do have my game turned up quite loud. Let's turn it down a little bit, But, I mean, of course you want to hear the glorious sounds, Draconian, But let me know. Hopefully that's a bit better. So, I think the important thing to start off with is the usual format is Rob's going to talk to us a little bit about what the Dominion Factions is about, but he's not going to go into detail about tactics till the end. So he's just going to tell you a little bit about the Dominion Faction. We're then going to take it in turns to go through the ships. Now, in difference to the other factions, because the Dominion are very special, as Rob will explain shortly, you're not going to see every ship that you can build as part of their roster, because some of those ships are duplicates of the Cardassian ships. So if you're looking for those ships, go check out our Cardassian faction review. You'll hear me, Rob, and Tom talk about those ships there. So it's minus a few ships, and likewise the defences. We're not going to talk about those defences because they are exactly the same defences as in the Cardassian video. So do check that out if you want to go see what that's about. But I think without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rob quickly just to tell us a little bit about the faction. Well, I was trying to find, Rob, the extra Dreadnoughts. So I'm going to find the extra Dreadnoughts while you tell us a bit about Dominion as a whole.
Yeah. So before I do that, I wanted to say there was a lot of concerns because of the other videos about factions being ridiculously overpowered, because I was saying, if you get this piece of this faction and this piece of this faction and this piece of this faction together at the same time, they become really unstoppable. And I just want to assure everybody that doesn't just mean that faction is the best faction or the most powerful faction in all circumstances or something. Getting everything you want in a game requires your opponent to be very passive and just not very... They're not thinking very much if you get everything you want at the certain part of the game that faction is the strongest. And every faction has a part of the game where they do have a leg up. So I just wanted to say, calm down. Every faction's really good. I promise. Everything's
good. Nothing's bad. And if you have a certain favourite faction, I promise you won't be disappointed by this update to Armada 3. I think this is, as I've always said it, but I would say that because I'm a little bit biased, but I do think this is the best edition we have ever made. Definitely, I would say, Rob, the most balanced version we've ever made.
I agree. I think there's still always going to be balance issues in a mod with 6 factions. But that being said, it is by far the most balanced it's ever been. And I agree, it's the best it's ever been. After over 2,000 hours of playing this, in PvP and PvE, just with the community, I can say that I enjoy the new version so much that when I try to go back and play the old version, it's painful.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. I see people playing it, and guys, I know you're playing it, and I know you're itching to get your hands on this. But as always, we say that we want to be wise in all things, just like the founders, and release it at a point where we're happy to get it out there. Because I think the problem is you release it out as a beta on Discord, and then you don't necessarily get the feedback, or and that's a danger. So as I said, Rob's been playtesting really hard with his group of playtesters, with Bertoni sort of adding input as well, and we're still waiting to just get a little bit more feedback, because there's a lot changed and there's a lot to review.
There is, and it's easy to miss things. It's really easy to miss an interaction. There was an interaction in Uprising with damage share that went unnoticed for a long time, where if you had damage share and you used Wei-Yun's Dark Energy Cascade ability, it caused some kind of infinite damage loop, and it would literally blow entire fleets up.
Yeah, it was crazy.
In one cast.
Crazy. I remember the Feds had the damage share as well with his Dark Cascade, and so the Fed fleet would just explode.
Yeah, Union and Fed fleets would literally, you'd cast those two things at the same time, and it would pop the fleet like a balloon.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we've had little bugs like that we've had to fix. So, Rob, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Dominion in general?
Yep, I will. I will tell you about the Dominion in general. So I think the biggest key things with the Dominion are their ships are faster, their ships build faster, their ships aren't as tanky, and their ships have strong damage output. So they are very much a get in and blow up the other guy's ships, but also know that all your ships might blow up too, and then you're going to build more ships, and you're going to have more ships.
Yeah, you like to build a lot of Dominion ships, especially bug ships, because everyone wants more bug ships.
I like the Dominion a lot, for reinforcing. I like to have 6-7 shipyards on Dominion and just have waves of ships, entire fleets building in seconds.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the name of the game of Dominion. Really, it's a very fast faction, a very fast playing faction. It's not for the light-hearted. So if you're not very good at kind of flanking around and using speed to your advantage, you prefer something that's a bit more solid as a faction, then you may prefer to play, say, Romulans or Cardassian Union, which are incredibly slow. And that's the weird thing, is the Union are very, very slow, whereas the Dominion are the complete opposite, which is kind of crazy. And they're all bound within one faction. And just a reminder, if you go to the research tree, you can choose the Dominion as a choice. So you can go to the Union or you can go to the Dominion through this choice, which is under Union protection. So you have a choice. And again, they have their own unique weapons trees that increase the damage outputs and range of fires of Dominion ships here. So it's important to remember that. And I always like to point out they actually have different abilities. They have a polar lance instead of a spiral lance, for example. They get extra shield tech, whereas the Union get extra hull plating. So there's some subtle differences about how tanky ships will be. Dominion ships tend to be more focused on shields as opposed to hull. And obviously Union ships tend to have terrible shields but great hull. So it's a bit of a swing and roundabout. We've left a few Cardassian ships in here, as I said, outside of the normal ones, because they are slightly different. Including the Galore, and obviously Mr. Decut has changed because of the hero. So we're gonna go over those as well. But I think, Rob, that kind of brings us nicely into the first ship, which is the iconic, lovely Scarab corvette.
The good old Scarab. Yep. So this is it's a unique case, like the Romulans with this Scarab. It's actually it's very anti-heavy damage. So it's unique because most factions don't have access to anything that's anti-heavy this early in the game, and so this kind of punches up and counters. If you had, for instance, a Fed player that was playing for tech, and they went into Excelsiors and Akiras quickly, they would be countered without you teching up nearly as far pretty well just by you having Scarabs, which is really, really useful against factions that rely a lot on heavy ships. And obviously the Scarab has this ability, this makes it different than the Romulan version, because the Romulan version is more focused on defense and evasion. The Scarab is focused entirely on damage output. So you can see on the screen that Scarab swarm ability. It stacks up to 20 times based on how many Scarabs are around, and it will give the Scarab more damage, more chance to hit.
Exactly.
And it's amazing.
We are prepared.
So at the moment, because of all the buffs on this Scarab from this fleet, you can see that it's quite crazy. It actually has a damage output of plus 17%. So when the Dominion fleet gets a rolling together with full upgrades, they are an incredibly scary thing. But yeah,
that weapon cooldown is a lot of extra damage as well.
Yeah, it's just that they are crazily good. So and actually the Scarabs are one of the few corvettes that get free buffs in their fin. So they get damage output, which is incredibly strong. It's incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Chance to hit and chance to evade. So they're very, very powerful, as you'd expect the Scarabs to be, which kind of is in line with the lore. But as I said, because they punch up,
they're not so good early game. They're not good early game.
And I think that's one of the things you should be wary of, where you need your Cardassian friends to kind of protect you a little bit. You know, if you're a really good counter to this, obviously it's a Klingon Raptor. So, you know, don't be thinking that a Scarab is going to go toe-to-toe with a Klingon Raptor. It will probably lose that fight, because obviously Klingon Raptors,
they're not designed for that.
Exactly, they're designed to go against Corvette. So, but it is still in there, still an iconic ship. I think you'll build a lot of them towards mid and late game.
I like using them for expansion too. They're actually really good, you know, in the early mid game for expanding, because the pirates have pirate armor, which takes a flat amount of damage from all ship types, and Scarabs are quick. And they're good at sniping the neutrals on planets, so they're great for expansion too. So this is a really good ship.
Really good ship, good all rounder. So that's a Scarab. I'm then going to jump, and I can't see it here. And I'm gonna do this one. This is the Fresh Guard destroyer. It's kind of like a small Breen scout cruiser. Not particularly big, great. I can't remember, Rob. Which did I change this now? Was this anti?
It's medium, anti-medium. I can do the ships. I know every ship by heart.
Right,
I love these ships.
You do it, because I'll just get it wrong. So go on, Rob. You go.
Yeah, this is a medium, anti-medium ship. So this is amazing for contesting neutrals, because most of the ships that can contest neutrals are the sort of carriers of the other factions, and those carriers have medium armor, and they're typically anti-light or anti-very light damage types. So they're poor against this, and this is good against them. And this is a ship that's also designed to actually output damage itself, whereas most of those are designed to supplement damage with their strike craft. So this ship is great for getting in and capturing neutrals. It can also capture enemy ships, and it has an ability that heals itself, heals another ship, and damages itself. These are good. This also has anti-cloak, and this is really important because the Romulan and the Klingon carriers to capture things can cloak, and that makes them very difficult to deal with for most factions. But obviously we want a Dominion to be kind of a bit of an aggressive faction, a bit of an expansionist faction, because it fits with the lore, and that helps them get out and contest the neutrals irregardless, whereas on Federation or on Cardassian Union it's a lot harder to go out and contest those neutrals.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Fresh Guard is just generally a good all-round ship, and you probably want quite a few of these in your fleet just to do that anti-medium role. So, and it's a nice looking model as well. I think it's
they're a really nice early mid game. These are a really, really strong ship, and you get them at tier 2 tech for Dominion. So they're also kind of a step above, because most factions don't get a ship kind of like this one until Tech 3. So they're really, really strong that way as well.
Let's jump over to another staple, but this is a Cardassian ship this time. This is the Galore. Do you want to tell us a little about what the difference is between this Galore and your standard Union variant?
You know what? This actually is one of the areas where you might be better than me. I know it does more damage. But I actually don't know exact numbers.
So it still has its two abilities that you'd expect on the Union, but the difference is that the Galore actually has 2 refits. So when you refit the Galore as the Dominion version, what you basically gain is a speed boost and a shield boost. So actually it becomes more tanky in shields and faster. Because the problem is, when we designed the 2 factions, obviously is the Cardassians is designed to be slow. So we had to find a way of getting the Galores to obviously keep up with the rest of the Dominion ship. So as part of its refit, it gets a speed boost as well, so it can keep up. It's still not as fast as the Dominion ships, but it can keep up a little bit better. And again, I think this is still anti-heavy, right, Rob?
I believe it's heavy, anti-heavy, yes. Yeah, so it's kind of, it punches equal, and it's good. It's not it's better than in some circumstances for it to actually punch down. So like sometimes, for instance, on Federation, if you tech to Excelsiors quickly, it can actually be better for you that they punch medium. But I think because of the way that the Dominion is, because they have the Treshgar, I think it being heavy anti-heavy is really strong, and it makes it a versatile ship that's nice to tech into to make sure that you have that extra armor and that extra ability to take down heavy targets. Even though you do have the Scarabs and everything, it's nice to have heavy targets in your fleet to force your opponent to build anti-heavy ships. Yeah. So,
and they're still quite tanky as well. They've still got 8 armor, so they are very, very well armored as a general use ship. So you're still going to want the Galore in your fleet. Right, let me find. Well, I'll find it in a minute. There it is. And then that brings us on to another Breen ship.
Yep. So the Gortan has taken a bit of a new role. Mm-hmm. It's the anti-light ship now, sort of the anti-light. It's hybrid damage. I believe it's anti-light and anti-medium. So it's unique and it's flexible in that way. And it has medium armor, so it's pretty good for taking down corvettes. It's okay against frigates, and it can also do okay against medium ships. So it's very versatile. And its ability, Energy Drain Torpedo, this is, I think, the real kicker about it. It does good damage, and it disables enemy ships. But it can no longer disable capital ships.
That's right.
Because that was degenerate.
It can do structures, though, which catches people off guard. So it's quite powerful.
Yes, it's a very good ship, and it's a very flexible ship. Yeah. There's not too much else to say about it. It can also uncloak things, but like the Treshgar can uncloak things too, so it doesn't have that role specifically or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the Gortan. And then
whom shall we destroy?
This one is one of my favourite ships.
This is one of the most unique ships in the game. The ship has very light armor and is anti-very heavy, so it punches the furthest you can possibly punch, which in the late game means if you're not building your corvettes or whatever it is for your faction that takes down the frigate armor type, the very light armor type, this thing will slaughter you. This thing is really good against capital ships. It's actually one of the best ships against capital ships in the game. It has insanely high damage output, and it has these isolytic mines that do a bunch of damage and disable everything.
Great. They're fantastic.
The Roanthas are nasty.
There is the mine there, just so in case you guys want to see it. So quite a lot of damage, and they disable things.
They remove antimatter too. They're really good.
Yeah.
Where shall we strike?
And obviously it has vent Metreon gas as well.
Yes, this is a new ability that I don't remember when you added this.
This I added in this patch, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah, you explain what this does.
You've got to kind of target an area with it, and it'll, as I said, you'll start. There's no. What I should warn people is at the moment there is no effect on it because that's on Farbicus to create one, but it creates effectively a Metreon gas pocket, and you can see my ships are actually taking damage here, and the regeneration is disabled.
Where shall we strike?
And Metreon gas is quite famous from the film. As you know, there were pockets of it. If you shot into it, it's quite explosive. So in this case, it's actually doing damage, as you can see, quite quickly to the ship. So
yeah,
it creates a big area of effect envelope.
It's got some mobility debuffs too, from the looks of it.
Yeah, it does. So your max speed is reduced by 15, your acceleration turn rate is reduced by 15. So it's quite cool to have that ability as well. So I think you'll use it. Obviously, we need to get the effects done. That's something I've got to chat with Farbicus about. But yeah, it's good. I like it.
That's powerful. I like it too.
Yeah, it's great. So that's the Roantha. And how many would you say you need a lot of these in your fleet?
No. You don't want too many of them. They're so good for what they do, and they cost a lot of supply. So if you were to build a bunch of these and you thought, haha, I've got the greatest ship ever, your opponent could just build something that does anti-very light, and these are expensive, and they cost a lot of supply. So you might want 4 or 5 of them, depending on what your opponent has built, but you don't want to go overboard.
Yeah. So that brings us nicely onto the last of the smaller Dominion ships, the Manticore battle cruiser.
The Manticore is like the specialist anti-heavy ship. It's got very heavy armor, so it's a step up. So things like the Galore won't do as well against it because they're punching equal, whereas this punches down at them and has a step up on armor. So it's kind of 2 steps different in the combat rainbow, so to speak, and it has a great direct damage ability and a great mobility ability, and it's very quick. These are great for getting in and just sniping heavy armor ships.
Yeah, it's a beautiful model as well. I really love this.
Yeah, they're pretty good against capital ships too. To be honest, these have really good damage output.
Yeah, fantastic. So heavy polar on beam and delta assault, giving them evade, and max speed and turn rate. It's just so good.
I think it's important to say to people though, the Jem'Hadar ships are also flimsier. So they do have all this damage and they look really crazy, but they're flimsier. They'll go down quicker. So, like against an Akira, for example, that has more staying power than this. Even though they kind of fill the same role. They're both very heavy anti-heavy, but Akiras are going to last a lot longer and their ability is going to be a little bit more versatile instead of just being, I'm going to punch your ship as hard as possible.
Frums is asking, can you stack it? So I think he's talking about the Metrion gas. No, it's not stackable. So if you just deploy Metrion gas with 2 reactors, it will still only you'll only receive the effect of 1. So there's a non-stackable Metrion gas pocket. So if that was the one you were asking about. So that's the Manticore, and again, that's kind of more of a mid to late game, I guess, ship. And again, would you want many of those in your fleet, Rob, or do you think?
I like to have some of these initially, unless my opponent's building a lot of heavy ships. But I like reinforcing with these because they build really fast.
Yeah. So they're good. They're good all round ships. I mean, is there a flipping point between Scarabs and Manticores? Is there? Because obviously they both punch. They've got a lot of things that punch at the same weight. Like,
I think it depends on what your opponent is building. Because if you have 6 Scarabs, with their light armor type, if your opponent's building very heavy ships that are sort of heavy or heavy or very heavy armor, having 6 Scarabs is going to be better than having a Manticore, and that's roughly what a Manticore costs. So it's going to be really dependent on what your opponent builds. So it's a little bit more intuitive than just there's a flipping point. It depends.
And I think that's the point. We said it in the other videos just to remind people that obviously there's a PDF coming with this, which is going to give you a hint as to what ships are good against. But that's an important point. You do have ships that do punch at the same levels, but you've got to look now at what your opponent is doing. Now, the AI in particular, they always look at what you're building. They cheat, really. They kind of always can see what you're building, and so they will anticipate your ship types. And they're very good, actually. That's one of the reasons we've gone for these changes. The AI is very good at looking at the damage types and the weapon types, which is in that spreadsheet we told you about. So they will try and counter your ships. So if you tried to go down a certain path, in the old edition you would just spam, one type of ship, and you could do very well with that. Here, not so much now, because the AI will even try to counter you with ships that it finds most effective against. So the lesson to you guys, and I think to anyone watching this video later on, is that it's good to have a mix of ships. That doesn't mean you can't obviously counter what an opponent is doing, but you just need to, scouting becomes even more important in the game, and having vision of different corridors that people might try and attack you from.
Yeah, I think it's also important to say, if you're attacking especially, you should really focus on having a good mix of ships, because if you get in there and their defender's advantage kicks in and they start building what's countering you, your attack will get destroyed very cost effectively and you'll die.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to go into the Janissary or the Kelden class, which are... Oh, actually, I should probably go into the Kelden, shouldn't I? Did I even build a Kelden?
We can quickly cover the Kelden. It's the same as it was in the Cardassian video, except, it's one of the only sources of extra armor for the Dominion, whereas the Cardassians have a lot of armor. So it's really important to have, 2 of these in your fleet to provide armor to the fleet. In as big of a radius and as much of a quantity as possible. Dominion doesn't have a lot of sources of armor, and this is actually a really crucial part of their fleet in the late game. If you don't have these, you're down a lot of armor, and it's going to hurt you.
Yes, you do want some Kelden capitals. We're not going to go into the abilities on the Kelden or Janissary, but obviously they are in your capital ship roster. The only downside to the Kelden is it will slow your fleet down a little bit, because it's quite a slow ship, so it's just something to be wary of. The same with the Janissary.
Not good in those hit and run fleets.
Yeah. So that you do sacrifice armor. So there are some weaknesses to Dominion. Not that we want to put you guys off, because there's a lot of advantages to the Dominion as well. And that brings us nicely to the first. Probably, I would say, not that guy. Your favourite.
That's my favourite.
Capital ship, the Mantis class.
It makes... Okay, so what it does, it has a direct damage ability that is, I believe, a Polaron torpedo. Yep. It has this Gamma Assault ability, which gives it a bunch of extra mobility. Turn rate, damage output, very good. So it basically beefs it up and makes it move around better. And then it's got Polaronic Resonance, which is one of my favorite abilities in the game. It's just damage that sits there and ticks on anything around it. It's really, really nice. It's not something that makes a direct impact like right away, but over time as you fight through a game, it can be a huge deal. And then it has, I can't remember, Vorcha interfacing, which basically gives all your ships extra speed, acceleration, turn rate, chance to hit. Really good, and it stacks twice, I believe.
Yeah, it does actually stack twice. So that is worth having 2 Mantises in your fleet.
I always have like 3 or 4, so...
and I would just say, actually, in terms of like its damage, it's just a very powerfully strong frontal damage-based capital ship. So it can fire...
all the Dominion capital ships are kind of that way, except the Hydra.
Yeah. I mean, you would feel no problems in taking up, say, against a Vorcha with a Mantis, would you, Rob?
No, I like to build a lot of Mantises. I'm kind of a bit of a slut for Mantises, I won't lie.
Yeah, so they're great. So Mantis is still a fantastic capital ship. And I just want to mention, we talked about heavy polar on top, and you'll notice that this is one of our abilities that has if it has something else, it does more damage. And we're going to come on to that in a second. So you can see if the target doesn't have phase polar or beam, it only does 150 damage.
Yeah.
If it does have phase polar, it does 800. And you guys,
and it's a big difference, actually.
Yeah. It's an extra 700 damage, 650 damage. I'll get there in a minute. And it's quite powerful, and it
also has that shield block. Yeah,
it does the shield block. It does the disables. It's very, very, very powerful. And that brings us nicely to the other counterpart, the Chimera, which, funny enough.
That has the beam, I was going to say. This has the beam that torpedo requires, and that torpedo requires this beam. So they work together, these 2 ships, on their direct damage, and if you target them properly, I mean, that's a lot of damage, and it disables weapons, it hurts armor. It's really, really strong.
Yeah, so if you can learn to sort of, for those that do like a bit of micro, if you can micro the polar on beam followed by the torpedo, you can actually pull this lovely effect off that really... just destroyed.
I was just doing this in a game. I took 3 of these and 3 Mantises, and I have basically hotkeys set up on my mouse to fire these abilities specifically, and I had the Mantises fire, and then I had these fire, and I almost killed the Borg trapezoid in 1 volley.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can pull it off, it's tricky to do, but if you can learn to do it, and you are a fan of keybinds, or you like that kind of stuff, then it's for those people that kind of like that. So you then got. Do you want to sorry, Rob? Do you want to talk us about the rest of the abilities on the ship?
Yeah. So this is another mobility boost. It gives them more speed, more turn rate, but it also gives them chance to evade. So these are kind of... I view the Chimera as the better direct combat ship out of the Mantis and the Chimera. Like, the Mantis is okay at direct combat, but it's more to buff the fleet around it, and it's more to kind of support these. And these are your kind of more damage-oriented, good combat ships. They have that beam, which does way more direct damage. They have this, which helps them survive longer. They have some repairs, which is nice. And of course, they have this ability, and this is, I think, their best ability, despite how good the beam is. Just because shield mitigation in this game is a massive, massive thing, and this has an ability that basically hurts the shield mitigation on other ships, which makes them more susceptible to damage. So these bad boys are also really, really good, and you're probably going to want 2 or 3 of them in your fleet for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Anything that brings shield mitigation down is just...
Watch for that stat, because if you have something bringing down 10% shield mitigation, sometimes that can equal 50% more damage. It's like, no joke.
Yeah, so these are really, really, really strong as a general ship. So, and again, if you're playing against Dominion, you do want to try and take the Chimeras out, because they just add so much into the fleet. So just beware of them if you see them if you're playing against another player or you're playing against the AI. It's definitely worth watching out for them. And that kind of brings us nicely onto the Hydra. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the Hydra?
Yeah, this is your only carrier as the Dominion. There's obviously no lighter, smaller carrier, cruiser carrier variants. So this is your only carrier. These ships are also decent in direct combat, I will say, and then Obviously, you can get out strike craft, you can upgrade the strike craft, you can get more strike craft, and they have this micro jump ability as well that allows their strike craft to be more maneuverable. They kind of do a little teleport, this ability here, freedom to fly. And I believe this can magnetize the strike craft to things, can't it, as well?
Yeah, it can. Look at that. Look at them just look at them zipping along.
Yeah, they're quick. I like sometimes to, if I like lose a fleet, to remax on Hydras because it tends to throw your opponent off, and it's pretty strong.
And then they have obviously the repulsion disruptor. That's the one.
Yeah, I don't understand how that ability works entirely. Why don't you take us through the mechanics of that one?
So essentially it's an area of effect ability that, well, as it says there, damages a temporary slow surrounding enemy strike craft. So effectively, enemy strike craft just take a lot of damage when they're within this kind of area of impact around the carrier, and their speed is slowed down as well, so they're kind of stuck in the field for longer. So if you know your fleet's being swarmed, you want to kind of activate that, and it's great in combination with the jamming field, because the jamming field turns the weapons off for strikecraft. So now not only are they taking damage and being really slow, they actually can't do any damage in the first place. So that this is probably, believe it or not, that is not as tanky as the other characters, which is a trait in the Gemini ships. It's probably the second best carrier in the game, just for the sheer
think
ability.
There's a couple things. What like the best carrier, you're probably talking about the Federation, but actually the Harrier, it has an ability that kind of changes the turn rate on its strike craft quite a bit.
Yeah.
And there's this stop command micro you can do that makes basically the strike crafts have 100% of their damage output all the time. And I think this ability here is probably the only way you could actually stop them from doing that. And that makes fleets of Harriers super disgusting. Like, they can snipe star bases in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, I like Harriers are good, but I don't know. Me and Rob aren't going to agree on this one today. I can tell you guys. I think this is the second best. You're going to go with the Harrier, aren't you? You're going to say that's the second best.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It's hard to say. These are good. The damage on the actual strike craft is higher on the Hornets and the I forget the name of the other ones. What's the name of the other guys? I'll get there in a minute. There we go. The Widows. That's it. Hornets and Widows. So they're actually higher damage output as well than the other strike craft. The only thing that's higher damage is Valkyries, which you only find under Typhon, which is generally considered the best carrier in the game. I think we still consider it the best carrier in the game anyway. But they're all good.
I would agree with you. It's the best carrier in the game.
Yeah, they're all good. But yeah, the Hydra is really good. You would still, I think you still want one in your fleet. I think you still want one.
I think it depends on what kind of fleet build you're going for. You're either not going to really want very many, or you're going to want a lot, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with carriers, as we said to you guys before, is to go out and flank and destroy things that way. Oh, silly drill! They're going to attack.
Well, it's also really nice if you like to just fly in on the edge of wells and fly in a whole bunch of strike craft and do a bunch of damage without sending your actual ships in, and then just fly away when your opponent responds.
Yeah, the carriers are great for kind of.
It's more of it's more of a strategic choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Distract them with your main fleet while you send a carrier around the side to take out some infrastructure. That's how I would do it. So. That kind of brings us to our last capital ship before we go on to heroes, which is this beast here.
1 second, I have the wrong screen up right now. I was looking at the stream. Yeah, okay, the Jawaxu. So this thing's kind of crazy now. So this wasn't a capital ship initially. This has been changed to a capital ship for this version. You call it in off of the capital shipyard. And it has its first ability is like a torpedo volley. It does a bunch of good direct damage. It's really powerful. Its second ability is a lot like that Metreon gas ability in how it works. You have to target a space around it, and it basically will drain the crap out of the antimatter of ships, and it does some damage as well. And it's actually really, really powerful. You can drain an entire fleet's antimatter if they're not paying attention to that, and they don't get out of it quickly. And antimatter is really big. It really matters. Like, if you can't use your abilities, your ships that are capital ships are a lot less useful. So this ability is really, really strong for that.
Yeah, it is. got a few effect problems today because it's not showing up. But normally, what you would be seeing right now, and I'm going to have a look at that with Fiberkiss, is actually an actual. Oh, I can't say it. Isolytic tear. So you would have it does actually look like the subspace tear that you see in Insurrection. So very, very, very cool. And when it explodes, it actually does do damage as well. I will add that. But I can't show you it because sadly it doesn't seem to be displaying.
Yeah, it's not working.
Oh, I don't. Is it?
Oh, there it goes. Okay.
There we go. Subspace tear.
Pretty cool looking effect.
I think so.
Yeah, that's a really strong ability too. You don't want to stand in that. You want to fly away if somebody does that to you.
Look at that. That's just so cool. I love that effect.
Yeah, it is a beautiful effect, especially when you zoom in on it and put something else in the background, like a planet, or it's really cool.
We're just getting
so yeah, so the Soda obviously, don't really care about human life, or any life really. They just like to use subspace weapons, which are incredibly dangerous and were banned. But there you go.
Yep. So its third ability. It's kind of a powerful debuff that you can cast on an individual ship. So it does do some damage, but the biggest thing is that it knocks down the weapon cooldown and the damage output of that ship massively.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really good against ships like the Tavara that are designed to just do as much damage as possible. If you targeted that on a Tavara, it would do significantly less damage, and it would be a lot less of a threat. Then you have this Dark Predator ability. Basically, this just reinforces the shields of the Jawaxu, heals some shields up, lets it do more damage, but drains its antimatter. So it's kind of like I'm going to do what the Tavara does and just go ham and kill you.
It's great. I think this is such a good ship. So tanky as well. Just like 21 armor is just...
Its damage, like look at its phase polaron beam damage. It's also got insane damage output. These are... They're really expensive, and it's hard to field a whole lot of them. And you wouldn't necessarily want to, because a lot of your other capital ships have a lot of fleet buffs, whereas this is more of a kind of a flexible combat-oriented capital ship. But you want these. These are sick.
Yeah, great. Really, really great. Big ships, big tanky ships. And that kind of ends our capital ships so far, and kind of nicely takes us on to heroes. There we are. So we're on to heroes.
You wanted to cover Gold Ducat again. Why don't you go ahead and do this one since you just changed it?
Yeah, so Gold Ducat's changed, I think, a little bit from the faction video. I've actually overhauled all the heroes, and I am going to do a hero stream at some point. Hopefully I'm going to have Rob Anton there to talk about heroes again a little bit, because I have changed. I might even do the old Tina Turner I Need a Hero music, as the intro. Who knows? I'm crazy like that. So Gold Ducat's changed a little bit. So he's still got his Ruthless Commander. You can see that some of the strings have been updated. So, and this one is absolutely accurate. So decreases the bombardment cooldown by 20%. So if you're going to bomb a planet, it's quite handy to have around. He gives damage reduction, which goes up to 10%, and he gives up to 20% chance to hit to the fleet. So if you're getting debuffed with chance to hit debuffs, he'll counter that quite nicely with Ruthless Commander. And that's just a great little ability there. He only runs for 50 seconds with a cooldown time of 90 seconds. So you've got a bit of downtime before you can run it again. But it's quite a handy, and actually it's quite not bad for a duration really, just under a minute. So it's quite good. Then you got Survival Instincts, which gives him evade, acceleration, and turn rate, which I think was the same as before, really. But he can go up to 5% at max level. That just makes him a little bit more survivable. And then he's got Unrivaled Cunning, which is obviously quite useful, which gives weapon range and chance to evade again. So that just makes him just pretty survivable. And he's pretty good, I think. He's your first hero as the Dominion and the Cardassians. And everyone loves to hear Gold Ducat, right? So Hi, Max. Max is at this end of the stream with us. Max, if you're here, man, feel free to come in and join the chat if you like. We're in the Solar Parallax voice, so you're always welcome, man. Our illustrious leader. So that's Golden Cut. And that, Rob, brings us nicely onto... No, let's not do him. Let's do him. We'll do Wayoon.
Yeah, Wayoon, I think, is the mid-game hero. He's your second hero, so that makes a lot of sense to do him next. He's changed. He no longer has Dark Energy Cascade, but to be honest, there was a lot of weird interactions that were problematic with Dark Energy Cascade, so I think that's probably for the best. He's also got this phase Polar Blast he had before. It's been nerfed a little bit. It used to do a lot more to the shield mitigation of enemy ships, but nonetheless, it's still extremely powerful. It does a bunch of direct damage. It nerfs their shield mitigation. And then his other two abilities are buffs to your fleet. The one gives this weapon cooldown, chance to hit, chance to evade, acceleration, turn rate. Does this one actually just affect him now?
Yes, it's Wayoon.
Yeah. And the other one affects the fleet, which gives weapon cooldown, output, and chance to hit. So
yeah, he's pretty solid as a commander. Like, he's not the best hero in the world, but he's not the worst.
He's a really good mid-game fleet buffing hero, and honestly, his Polar Blast will stack with the Chimera. So you really, really want him in the mid-game for kind of nerfing your opponent's fleet.
Yeah, I quite like him. I quite like him as a general use hero. He's nice, and he's in the Mantis, which. It's still a very good ship. It's nice. And then that kind of leads us to the one.
Me.
Yeah, Max has hopped in. We gotta say hi.
Hi, Max. How you doing?
Hello. Doing all right. Just played a bit of VR games with some friends, and just saw you were streaming. Figured I'd give it a look.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Well, we're just covering the Dominion tonight and admiring the lovely Jem'Hadar models because we all think the Jem'Hadar models are the best, Max. To us.
So speaking of Wayoon, I am working on. How we've got the AI voices that we're working with.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a few things. I mean, and Rob out of all people knows the new Borg voice that we can play with. So he's working on an updated model for that, so it sounds even better because there are some words it has troubles with.
Yeah.
But I might ask him if he can do a Wayoon voice as well.
That would be really, really cool. So what Max is talking about, guys, is we're actually looking... we have added actually quite a lot already, but we're looking at our sounds and our sound database, our sound voices, and just trying to improve things. And Max has recently also done from the last video, we covered Borg, and Max has redone the Reaper beam recently as well, haven't you, Max? So,
yeah. They redid the effect for that. I don't know if you want to show that off at the end or something, but...
I'll see if I can get it spawned in. Yeah. We're still working at it, guys, and that's why I know you guys keep saying, when's it coming out? It's coming. But it's going to be right.
We need to spend some time on it, yeah.
It's also very simple, guys. You guys have got to remember this is our hobby, and we have real-life things going on as well, especially my Mr. Bane here. He has some very important life events coming up.
That's right.
So sometimes just the mod just takes a slight back burner. You can hate him for it, you can love him for it, but that's the way how it's going to be, and I wouldn't expect him or anybody else to not be that way, because if in any case real life comes first.
That's right.
Well, and he's put a tremendous amount of effort. There's no doubt that this has been a tremendous undertaking, this patch.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, hell, even I contributed. Getting me back to Armada 3 to do stuff like that.
You've done loads, man. You don't know what to say. Max has actually done loads of this that I didn't expect. We've had new models, we've had new sounds, we've had new effects. So I can't complain at all. So.
Yeah, we got some. Did the Romulan ship make it into the new stream? Like the SFC3, the carrier, the cap carrier. Did that ever
I don't think it has been on stream, so we might be able to show that off as well.
Yeah, just show that later.
Yeah.
You guys keep talking about what you were talking about. I'm currently just working on the Excelsior class for AOTF2, with the new PBR stuff, because, having to convert to PBR and...
Yeah. Shadows and effects. So guys, this is Fort Gore. I'll let Rob talk about it in a second, but I just want to say Fort is one of those new classes of hero that we talked about.
Yeah, I was gonna just barely say this too. There's this new sort of type of hero, and
yeah.
I think Gore might be the most powerful one of them, and they're really powerful. Like they can be, if you let them get leveled up and you don't do something about them, they will annihilate you. And this one, I think he's more flexible than any of the others for this tier of hero. He's kind of the end game superhero, so to speak.
Yeah, so he's a planet affecting hero, or what we call a raider, a planet raider.
He's not just that. He does everything. This is the thing about
so
Gore.
He's so good.
He does everything. Like some of the other ones, like Denatra, she's got some great abilities that kind of hurt your opponent's buildings and they harass their fleet. But like based on the planet, she flies in, targets the planet. It does damage to the stuff around the planet. It kind of affects the planet's ability to produce resources. And it's really strong. And she's got like some fleet buffs. But Thought Gore has some really unique things. And I guess we'll start off with this energy drain warhead. This is basically a super energy drain torpedo. This thing can disable Titans. So it hurts their shield mitigation. It does a crap load of damage. It can disable up like any ship, Titans even. This is amazing. I can't stress how good being able to disable a Titan is. Like he's so good for sniping really important enemy capital ships or heroes or Titans or anything you want because of this ability that it's amazing. This ability is amazing. It disables abilities. It disables warp engine, disables impulse engine, disables what it disables everything.
Yeah, it's just and the shield mitigation. Don't forget the shield mitigation.
Yeah, I said that.
Did you say that? I wasn't paying attention. I was reading.
Yeah, it basically turns a ship into a flying paperweight.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So he's really he's insane. But he's not. Well, guys, when we say he's insane, as Rob said at the start of the video, we're not saying he's broken. You have to level him up, and you have to know how to use him. He's good.
He's like I said, he's probably the strongest one. Actually, he might need some tweaking.
He may be subject, before the hero video comes out, he may be subject to a few tweaks now, but we'll see.
Remember, any content you see on this stream is subject to change, and within no means are we required to explain why.
Let's do the kidnap and pillage last.
His second wave. Oh, you want to do it last? Okay.
Yeah.
Amplification wave is just a nice passive debuff to the ships around him to their enemies. So he'll take away their shield restore rate, and he'll passively hurt their shield mitigation. Passively. I'm just
so
in that giant circle.
So I've got a question. Does it do that actively or passively?
Passively.
It's very passively. He just sort of sends out the peaceful waves, man. We like to think that Gore is just like totally at peace all the time as a breen.
Well, as Thoughtgar would say himself. Also, Admiral Saval, every time you ask when AOTF2 will be released, we're deleting a file from our repository. So keep asking.
that's the general. Every time you ask, it's when's the mod being released? We slow down work. So
every time we do that, Keith gets married again.
I do.
Oh my gosh, that was kind of a savage comment.
That's harsh.
Sorry, I didn't. I mean it in jest.
I know. I mean, I would have been married about 56 times by now. So the torture.
Those are your words, not mine.
The amplification wave was good, and it's one of those really strong
passively
strong abilities. So passively, I like to think they're just smoking weed under those helmets. That's what's in those rebreathers. I just like stoned the entire time. The breed.
No. No, that would be any Dutch ship. Like that, I'm not flying any of these ships.
Passively.
They're very passive. These
guys vape.
They do. They vape hard, man. That brings us on to the final ability, which is kidnap and pillage.
So this is a crazy ability. Right now, because of the way that the capital planets work in the mod right now, where they are a significant amount of your economy. If you let him fly by and cast kidnap and pillage on that planet, you're pretty much gonna die. So it annihilates the tax income, it annihilates the culture, it annihilates the allegiance, and it kills all the population.
Wasn't that kind of what the Breen did, like in the actual show? They did like this. They had this rating mentality.
Yes, Max.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
It does. It's really strong. I was testing it earlier, and I took a planet from like over 40 credits a second to like 8.4 credits a second in one cast.
From yes credits a second to maybe.
Not even maybe. To why do I have this planet scuttle this thing?
Yeah, it's basically like, you know, we tried to simulate when the Breen did the sneak attack on the Federation and really, you know, attack Starfleet Command. It's to kind of simulate this kind of raiding culture that the Breen demonstrated in the show, and it's a very powerful ability. It's the same with Cisco and Denatra, and this is probably the most powerful one because of the...
Cisco's probably the second most powerful one.
Yeah,
but
yeah. This is strong. So this may be subject to slight tweaks yet. It's actually going to be more about what level you get it at. So with all the planet raiding abilities, guys, you need to get them up to this sort of really powerful level. You have to get to like level 9 on the capital ship in terms of experience. So and you're rewarded for that. And that don't forget now that these heroes now cost you money. If they die, you need population and money.
They cost a lot of money. They're almost comparable to being like a slightly less expensive Titan, and I think they're just as game-ending if you can get them leveled up.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can't.
Except for if they die, they don't come back at the same level. So it's also like you have to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. So heroes are really tricky. So like as Rob said at the start of the video, yes, they're powerful. Yes, they can be game ending in themselves if you level them up. But to get them to that point, you've got to invest in them. You've got to keep them alive.
You got to creep. It takes APM to creep them because you can only buy so many levels. And if you're creeping them and you're not paying attention and somebody flies in with a disable and snipes it, you're out a lot of money. Which it's a big opportunity cost.
Will do.
Yeah.
Any skill player will snipe your heroes at the first chance they get.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob's done it to me a fair few times. It's made me
I do think he's insanely powerful.
Yeah.
But there is an opportunity cost.
Yeah. Right. That was our heroes. Done. Nice.
So what have you already shown off? Because I know I'm just jumping in late in the stream, but what have you guys shown off?
Pretty much everything. We're just going on to the last one, which is the Dreadnought, really. But if you want to talk about any models or anything like that, just let us know.
Well, no. We'll do that after you've done your planned stuff. We can show off the new Romulan stuff and
cool.
What hell knows what else I added.
Reaper Beam. Reaper Beam. So this is the Cyclades Dreadnought, or I should say 3 of the Cyclades Dreadnought, and we'll explain why there's 3 of them right now, won't we, Rob?
Yep. So it has an ability that basically calls in 2 sort of duplicates. They don't have the same abilities, but they're equally powerful as like a direct combat ships, and they're very powerful as direct combat ships. So that's the Founder's Protection ability there. It requires, I believe, level 3.
I've actually changed it now.
Have you changed it?
Yeah, I only cross 1 level now. Amazing.
Wow. You can get it at level... It's really strong. That's really strong. It adds a massive amount of effective hit points.
Sorry, I mean 1 level of the ability. You have to.
I knew that.
Oh, right.
I knew that.
I know what you meant. I just figured what you meant. I think it is level 3. Yes, you're correct.
Okay, I was gonna say I think it being at level 1 is too good, but okay, yes, you have to get the Dreadnought to level 3 to do this. But you can call in these 2 duplicates that have their own abilities, and they're really good in direct combat. Yeah. Its second ability is Imposing Phantom, which is one of my favorite abilities in the game. I don't even fully understand how it works, but I know that it gives a ridiculous amount of damage reduction, and it makes him super hard to kill.
So it gives out 25% to the fleet, and it gives 2% on top of that to itself. So it's good.
It seems to do a lot more than you would think. Yeah. Based on that, he's quite tanky.
It makes the Dominion fleet able to go, not only have that like overwhelming damage output, but suddenly takes him from being super fragile to not so fragile. So
to moderately fragile, because 25% is big, but not that big.
Yeah, they're moderately fragile, but that can be enough because their damage is so high and their speed is so high.
Lasting 30 extra seconds or something is massive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phase Polar on Lance is just a gigantic direct damage, good for sniping things.
Yeah.
And then Founder's Presence.
If you face another Dominion player.
Snipe the Thought Gore.
Yeah, always kill Thought Gore, no matter what. Unless he disables your Dreadnought, and then
you fly in to shoot him and he disables you.
So we look at these ones. These are the clones. There's just they're not as damaging actually as the original, but they're still quite damaging. So you can see
they're close, and they have their own kind of toned down powers. Yeah. So they have this is
Founder's Wrath.
You go ahead and do this one.
I was say they've Founder's Wrath, so they got weapon cooldown and chance to hit, which is always nice to have. Imposing support. I love it. So they got 30% damage reduction themselves. So they get 25% and they have 30% on themselves. So these are actually quite tanky. So they're good. And then they have Founder's Wisdom, which is sort of a buffle ability, which gives weapon cooldown, damage reduction, and weapon cooldown, which they give to the fleet. So if you actually work it out, Rob, you get 35%.
Yeah, it's a lot. Damage reduction's not like shield mitigation though. 4% shield mitigation's probably more than 30% damage reduction, just for the people watching.
But it's still good. There is something you have to be aware. So they need to have Founder's presence. So if they don't stay near the Founder on the Securities Dreadnought, they get a little bit sad. They lose all their weapon cooldown, their chance to hit. Their damage reduction goes into the negatives and their speed drops. So because they failed in their duty to protect the Founder. So yeah, guys, don't let that happen.
Yeah.
don't let them feel sad. You also see little screaming heads above them to say, "We let the Founder die."
And with that said, that brings us to the last ability on the main Dreadnought. It's just Founder's Presence. Which is a big fleet buff.
There it is.
Yeah. Ability cooldown, which is enormous. Antimatter cost. Does that make things cost 40% less antimatter? Does that really do that?
That really does do that, yes.
That's my god.
That's what it does.
Energy weapon cooldown, chance to hit, shield restore, max speed, acceleration, turn rate. That's a really good ability.
It's so good. So good. It's a long cooldown, though, to be fair. It's a long cooldown. Because it lasts for a minute and a half, but sometimes that's all you need in a battle in Sins is a minute and a half of.
A minute and a half's a long time in an RTS.
Yeah, that can just be enough to kill your main fleet if you're not paying enough attention.
Yeah, absolutely swing it round and that, and you're in a good place. So Rob, obviously that's the Jem'Hadar ships. Obviously, didn't cover the Kodash ships, but what's your general advice for the play style of the Dominion? Like, how should players play the Dominion against other players, for example?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I think the Dominion's really good at expanding early game because of the pirate armor, but they're actually pretty bad at killing other players in the early game. The Gortan is okay, it's flexible-ish, and it helps against those light targets, but against like Klingons or Federation in the early game, you're actually kind of at a disadvantage, and even into the early mid game, you're kind of at a disadvantage because you don't have anything that can take out the light and very light targets extremely well, because the offset is kind of, it's okay at dealing with them, and same thing with the Gortan, it's okay at dealing with them. But luckily, you're not likely to really get attacked super hard by those types of things early on, as those factions that have that are more economically focused and kind of want to not have to deal with aggression early on, and they want to get built up economically. And the strongest point for you is the Dominion is in the mid-late game. Dominion in the mid-late game is just really, really powerful because their researches are pretty quick and they're pretty streamlined, so you can get a lot of damage and armor comparatively for the mid-game to other factions. And that's when you want to win, because the other factions are going to take kind of in the super late game, other factions are going to take an advantage. They're going to have more armor upgrades, they're going to have kind of a lot more things that come together that are a little bit more complicated, like their capital ship abilities and all the different things that will start to come together more synergetically, whereas you come together synergetically as the Dominion in the mid-late game. So you have basically when you have a couple capital ships, when you have a couple heroes, and that's when you want to strike. And I guess my best advice from there is try to expand a lot, because the trade is really powerful on Dominion due to the oppressive regime ability on the outposts. That's really good. It gives a trade increase, and it gives some extraction rate increase, so it's really good to just kind of throw down on planets where you want an outpost anyways to help with defense. And you want to get a big expanded out economy so that you can afford to just never-endingly throw ships out of 6 or 7 yards just be replacing fleets as fast as possible, and you just from there you just want to attack until you win the game. It's kind of like the Zerg in StarCraft 2. Like you just sort of wave after wave after wave hits and whittles the opponent down until they can no longer survive, even though they have kind of the better tools. If you get further into the game, like the other factions will have better tools than you.
Yeah.
I think that's basically my advice on the Dominion. Yeah, reinforce with your Jem'Hadar ships. Make sure you do have a fair amount of galores for staying power. Make sure you do get your capital ships of all the different types, because you want them to work together. They're very synergetic. You need Keldens, you need Mantises. That way your fleet has armor, it can move quickly, and you need Chimeras to help kind of do extra damage to the enemy fleet. Yeah, they're really strong. I feel like they're kind of like the Federation. In a way,
that's kind of how the Dominion were to begin with, right? In Trek as well, they were supposed to be kind of like an anti-Federation.
Yeah, and they are. They're kind of like the Federation. They're a jack of all trades, but at a different stage of the game. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Max.
And you just see, like, just from these attacks here, they're just so fast. Like, I can't tell you guys how fast they're moving around this gravity well. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? The speed at which they move.
Yeah, never try to base trade a Dominion player. They'll kill everything you have a long time before you kill everything they have.
Yeah. Just the speed of that fleet. So we need to go. What's happening?
Yeah, I guess. Do we want to have anyone? You guys ask any questions in the chat, and I can either answer in the chat or I can answer here through voice if it's convenient. But any questions you have, go ahead and.
Except for release date.
Yeah, not that question.
Any question, but not that question.
Our death
yeah.
is glory to the
Any
power.
question but the ones that matter.
Any question but the one that's already even been asked, because people asked that like as soon as we started. They're like, when is this coming out? Give it to us now.
It's rude getting attacked by raiders. It's just not nice.
Our death is glory to the founders.
Oh, I did want to say the Dominion are actually kind of one of the stronger factions against Romulans, and they're kind of one of the stronger factions against Borg, because they have so many amazing anti-heavy and very heavy options. So
yeah, Dominion do really well against Borg. Absolutely.
Let that be said, there are factions. Guys, it's impossible to make every faction balance with each other when you have 6 factions in a game. I mean, they can't even do it in StarCraft, you know. Protoss are still broken against everything.
Yeah. So there will be some factions that generally have advantages because other factions.
Hell, Stockton's isn't even balanced.
Yeah, that's true as well. So
there will be matchups that are bad, and there will be matchups that are good, and you'll have to learn them.
Yeah, I think.
That doesn't. But I think overall, I think you guys have achieved that. You know, every faction is playable against every faction. Like it's gonna not. It's like you're gonna have a harder time with some of them, but. It's not an impossibility.
No, it's not impossible. We're working to make sure that that's the case as well. There are some matchups that are currently really bad, but I want to assure everybody we're working as hard as we can to make sure that everything is playable. If you want to only learn one faction, but learn 2 or 3 factions, you know.
It'll work in your own advantage. Like to be fair, I'm really a Fed player, but I'm also pretty decent as the Dominion, or at least I used to be. Don't hold me on that currently. But they have very varying play styles, compared to each other, and it's something you're really gonna have to get used to, because it's how it is. It's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and join us in the PvP scene, because it's going to be way more interesting after this. There's going to be so many different things happening in the PvP scene when this drops, and I'm super excited. Come join us. I'll teach you to play. The community will teach you to play, and then I'm actually thinking about doing some tournaments and even putting up some cash prizes for them, because I really want people to play.
Also, subscribe to our Patreon so we can actually
afford things.
Because I'm actually using the Patreon money that I'm using to subscribe to my own Patreon chair, of course, to fix those voices, because I'm subscribed to the guy's Patreon that's doing it, also because I seriously support the project. AI voice generation is going to help us so much in future modding projects as well. So that it helps pay for stuff like that too.
They've got section 31. How rude.
How rude.
How rude. Yeah, so I think that covers most of the Dominion stuff. Is the Galaxy Forge being updated? The Galaxy Forge is being updated. You will be able to continue to make maps. What else have we got? Can't refuse this, but have you changed the AI PV increases based on difficulty level? We've tweaked the AI, so they should be a little bit different. I still think the easiest AI is it's called Why Bother for a
He's
reason.
made the AI way more powerful. They're way stronger than they used to be.
Also, for those that don't know, we have very, 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 very limited control of the AI, especially after a patch they did, where basically they made the stock AI really good, but in order to do that, they kind of broke some stuff on the non-stock AI, which is why the AI is a bit weird. As for Ham's question, we are working on a similarly large patch for AOTF1, which also includes the Sins Remastered shaders, which makes the game look so fucking great. But yeah, we have already fixed the 98% carrier spam by completely taking out carriers.
That tends to help, I find.
Yeah, because the AI just has a massive hard-on for carriers.
They do. I mean, there's a lot happening with OTF1, and we're hoping to do some streams from Stellar Paradox. The thing is, we've got to be careful because we don't want to take away too much from Armada 3 because that's so close to the release, and then we want to focus all of our YouTube and again. It's not just for flogging for money, but if you are a Patreon member, I think
you get so many nice behind. Yeah. There's this really beautiful Excelsior model I'm looking at, which is going to get some pictures in the behind the scenes channel. And if you're subscribed to our Patreon, doesn't matter which level, you get access to the behind the scenes channel, and you'll be able to see all that goodness.
Yeah.
Also, the renders that Connor does for the higher patron tiers, they are excellent. So if you like your Trek backgrounds, that you'll have a great time with that.
Yeah, we try to just do it in a way that we can spend some of the money on the mods, so we don't really make any money off it, guys. If that's what, just because it's more about being able to buy tools and stuff to make the mods and that.
Yeah, it's not going in my paycheck; it's going into another Patreon in order to get more AI voices. In my case,
yeah. So that's why we're always raving on about the Patreon. It's just so that we can actually make better mods.
Also, we're one of the few mods that don't give you don't get access to the mod early with Patreon. I want to be very clear on that. You don't get access to a mod earlier. You won't get access to a patch earlier. It's purely to support our work, and you'll see some really cool behind-the-scenes stuff. So, if you're really interested in that sort of stuff. But I do want to emphasize that point because there are some people that expect, okay, no, I'm not the current patrons, but I know that there are other mods for other games where people get early access to the mod, and I really want to make sure that's something we're not doing, we don't ever plan on doing, and I'm personally really against it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
No, they don't get the some style bases, different star bases.
Yeah, I was going to say somebody asked that. Yeah. Now, this Ham Swiss person, he says the combat abilities were never an issue, but the economic differences were sometimes crazy. Are you talking about the star bases? What are you asking?
We are yours to command.
Or saying, I suppose.
Maximum warp.
Power in warp.
I don't see means ITF1, perhaps. Perhaps. I don't know, Ham, if you clarify in the chat, we'll try and answer that, depending on which mod it is.
Did we want to check out any of those effects on the Reaper Beam, or?
Yeah, we can do that quickly. Let me. I'm gonna have to.
Oh, the AI at the highest difficulty. Yeah, so he's added some nasty things to the AI at the highest difficulty, and the difference is crazy. It's really, really crazy. I used to be able to beat every difficulty AI pretty consistently. The Immortal was pretty hard. It took me about 20 tries the first time I did it, and then I could do it every other time maybe. I cannot beat them now no matter what I do, unless I completely cheese them. So the AI is so much harder than it used to be. It's really crazy. I mean, good luck to you, everyone who wants a really big challenge with PvE. If you kill the Immortal Borg, even if there's like 6 of you, good on you.
I think we should.
Borg needing to be powerful. What?
All right, Reaper beam that Dreadnought, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, you're showing that off now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed. I was just my missus asked me something.
I was going to show it off, but I just think fuck God.
You spin
round,
baby,
right round.
like a record, baby. Right.
Oh,
Also,
dear.
those traveling phases are so good.
Thought Gore was like, forget it, you're not doing anything.
Leave the founder alone.
GG progenitor. This is why Thought Gore's insane, guys. You could actually straight up snipe a progenitor with him. That's
I can't do anything. I'm just like completely disabled with my progenitor now.
yeah. It's what.
Do you
60
have ability
second duration?
cooldown? Do you like have ability cooldown on or off or something? You know, because or else it's going to happen again.
Well, no, it's not on the
This is
override.
a pretty
Okay,
good
good.
example. I think this is a pretty good example of why Thought Gore is the best hero. Just saying.
I'm just gonna sit
Are
here
those
spinning
torpedoes
forever.
traveling around it?
They are.
It's like dragging torpedoes.
Oh, it's back! It's back. Which one is it? Is it that one?
Quick, shoot Thought Gore! Shoot anything!
Oh, here we go!
Wait, that was the Reaper beam?
That was a Reaper beam.
Yeah, that didn't look right. It looked the same as it was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's happened there.
It's not updated.
I did push it like
Oh.
ages ago.
Weird.
I might have to check if the weapon point is in the right place. Like, nah, that can't be right. Fire it again.
Is that a Federation Borg ship? I guess it is, kind of.
It's a Federation Borg ship. I don't know if I want to do this, to be fair.
Just disable damage or something.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, hang on. I think I'm out of antimatter as well.
Man, Thought Gore really did a number on that ship.
Oh, damn it.
Just
Oh
kill
my
Thought
God.
Gore. Just
Where
kill
is
Thought
it?
Gore.
Let's just kill Fuck Gore. Fuck Gore, where are you? It's such a pain, that Fuck Gore, I tell you. There he is.
This don't go for a Titan rush against Dominion. Let's just put it that way. It won't work.
Shush, Golden Cut. We don't know about you commanding everybody from everywhere. I will personally be commanding everything from everywhere. I.
No, you don't have enough come on. Just.
Should put on some Jeopardy music.
I've got to stop spinning rounds. There's an easy way around this. There's an easy way around this.
Oh.
Just spawn him again.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I basically.
Thought Gore. He's totally fair. Totally bad.
Don't be saying this. Oh look, the feds have now captured.
Thought Gore costs almost as much as a Titan, guys. So to be fair, if you kill him, it's almost.
Zoom into the Titan. I want to see it at the front. See if the charge up might be.
Yeah, it looks so. Nope, that was.
Did that look right?
Did it
thought it
work?
was-
I'll do it again. Let me do it again.
It doesn't seem to have worked.
I know I pushed the effects. Somebody overwrote the effects that I did. Huh.
Is that right?
Nope. Yeah. It's not big enough though. I need to make that bigger.
It's not big enough. Right, let's turn damage disable off and let's get back to.
Also, look, infinite chase.
Yes, that's because. Yes, infinite. This is an example. Oh, hang on, I'm not the linking. Where are they going? They're flying far, far away.
Our death.
Probably chasing that one Federation bro.
Great.
Right.
So as you can see, this is yeah. I wonder if Gold to Cut can survive a Reaper Beam. What do you reckon?
No. Nope. Reaper Beam, it's another thing that's so broken, but at the same time, like, in certain instances, you can use it against itself. You know, flip on some damage reflection, flip on a Corbomite Reflector, and all of a sudden, the progenitor blows itself up.
Standing by.
There's a lot of counterplay in this mod. It's actually one of the greatest things about this mod is there's so many different forms of counterplay like that, where there might be something that's insanely strong, but there's going to be something else that can interact with it in a way that's unexpected.
We've lost our 2 Dreadnoughts now. They've committed suicide because of the death of the founder.
Rip. Oh, that should be something. If you lose the founder, your entire fleet self-destructs.
Well, the other Dreadnoughts go, actually. If you lose the founder, they're very sad about life.
Well, yeah, but that makes sense because it's tied to that ship.
Debris just floating around from dead Titans.
Right, I'm going to fix that Reaper Beam particle.
Yay! So, guys, any other questions that we see? What causes infinite chase? Infinite chase is because in this mod we use something called fighter movement from Sins. And if they have the same speeds or similar speeds, they're basically forever chasing the target. Because fighter movement, they want to try and turn around and bank to do their shooting from where their most damage is, which is usually the front of the ship. And they don't do that because they're being chased. Yeah. It's just the way it is. We tried to avoid it though by having lots of different speeds in the mod, but sometimes you still get infinite chase. And in this case, obviously, you wouldn't normally have a Federation, a Federation Borg progenitor doing a simulation cloud on the Dominion fleet. So,
yeah. Also, it's not hard to just micro your ships a little bit.
Yeah.
Just fix it manually.
I've just noticed the actual progenitor's not actually firing anyway. I think the Feds are trying to run away. Because why wouldn't you want to steal a Borg progenitor?
Man.
You can't escape. You can't escape. Oh, now he's firing. Could you imagine if this was actually a full Borg progenitor with all its weapon upgrades from the Borg? Oh, it'd be terrible.
Yeah, it would be pretty scary, but I think
nice
still... I think that the fleet would have a really good chance against it with Gore, I'm telling you. Really good.
Anyway, yeah, so I think... Have we got any other questions? Doesn't look like it. So I think... is there anything else you wanted me to show, Max, while I'm here?
Yeah, that new Romulan carrier cap.
Romulan carrier cap. It was the Harrier you replaced, was it?
Yeah.
Which is
How may I
serve?
So did you give it a new model, or...?
Yes.
Oh, wow, I can't wait to see this. I really like the Harrier. It's actually my second favorite.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Is this the new model?
Yeah. Might want to get in some better light and maybe not in combat.
But combat is what makes the world go round.
Yeah, but it'll die relatively quickly to that Reaper Beam ship.
Actually, the progenitor's about to pop.
Also, you can go back into the dev menu.
Yep.
Until you just get the main view, like the first view. Press E.
E. Yep.
A. They can change through each skybox. So if you want some better light, you can kind of see like.
Ta-da! Here she is.
Good.
The design is exactly the same. It's just a higher poly model. This is a model we made for AOTF 2.
Yeah, it looks really smooth.
And then I really like the new nacelles on it. They look a lot better than the old ones on there.
Yeah, they look a lot smoother.
There's a nice light map bake on there as well, in AOTF 2 with bloody PBR shaders. I guess we can, if you want to, Keith, I did just post some screenshots of the Excelsior PBR in AOTF 2 in the behind the scenes channel. I mean, considering we're streaming and this is a special stream, if you want to show them off, you can.
I need to go. But
Yeah, I actually haven't got it set up on my OBS, but I will do that next time. I think I'll let you keep that, Max. But
Sure.
I think we are coming to the end of the stream. Are we going to get the Maxi Pad ship?
You mean the sound pack? That's something else.
That's something else. More Shack now with Romulus. So yeah, I think that's kind of shown Dominion off, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I want to thank Max and Rob for joining me tonight on the stream. We've been going for a good hour and 20 minutes. Any final words, Rob, on the Dominion that you want to just share before we sign off?
They're really good, and I like them a lot. But calm down, you guys who are super worried that everything's overpowered. Everything can't be overpowered. Like, everyone was like, oh, Cardassians are overpowered. Everyone was like, oh, Federation's overpowered. Everything is strong. Everything is good. The Dominion's really strong, and they're really good. But like I was saying before, they will get outpaced in the late game. So
Romulan's OP.
Don't panic. They are really good, but don't panic.
Yes, don't panic. Wait till you see the blue Borg.
Don't panic and don't blink.
Again, for the third time.
Blinking, you're dead.
Yeah.
I guess have we said that we were going to rebalance the Borg again?
We're rebalancing the Borg again. Will AOTF2 be for Sins? Yes, it will be for Sins.
Yes, because there's not another game out there yet that we can play with.
Leave the ROMs overpowered, says Draconian. There's some ROM lovers in this channel tonight. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the stream as always. As I said, thank you to Rob and Max. And guys, I will see you very, very soon. This is Bane, as always, going to be signing out and saying goodnight.